off too much, I have to give you credit because you tried to get me to come in town for career day. It wasn't going to line up right.
Yeah.
And somehow you still were able to
We
get me to
gotcha.
loop me in for
Yeah.
essentially what's a career day discussion.
Yeah.
So
100%.
if your colleagues are watching, she's really good at what she does, and he's fantastic. Somehow. So wow, to go back to high school, I mean that is okay. So I can tell you a couple of things. One is that I feel kind of remiss that I didn't actually. I cannot for the life of me remember who my actual assigned advisor was.
Okay.
But I know that's a big part of our lives at Country Day. But she was kind of assigned to me. I didn't remember who. I think she taught metals, but I ended up having mentors who were kind of the keys to my Country Day career. So going back, I was a young kid who just wanted the best possible education I could and the most opportunities that I could take on. So I was involved in football, theater, lacrosse, choir, Model UN. I loved my speed class, which we took in the lunchroom area. I forget what it was, but there was like auxiliary classrooms out there.
Yeah.
And my mentors in high school ended up being Coach Mack, obviously.
Okay.
I got my nickname from him of Damn It, Paul.
Right.
As something that I know from the video. But Coach Mack also taught me how to be coachable. He was one of the keys to me being today so able to take criticism. And I mean that in a good way, but in a way where I can be coachable and I can be adaptable to the things that I'm doing now in my life, both in my career and outside of my career. Mr. Nahan, it goes without saying, was and still is today. And these people are still part of my lives right now. But he was the creative mentor that I needed in high school. He taught me how to express myself and understand myself from a very creative level. And then there's Miss Sandoval, Mama Sandoval, as I like to call her. She had a way of guiding and teaching that didn't feel forced, didn't feel like I was being told what to do. She would kind of make it your idea. And without her guidance, I wouldn't have been on the path that I'm on. I've been, in Pennsylvania, now in Boston. So having played all those different things and having those people as mentors was, the shaping of my life, coming from really a fresh-faced, excited kid. I still have so much in my mind, and I just don't know how to sometimes hone it, push it to the right areas, and know how to guide my energies the right way. Those do that. To answer your question about the Letterman sweater, I think I don't know if you can see it. It's not that great.
I love that you brought it.
I mean, my wife won't let me, or my wife and I fight about it all the time, but I will not get rid of this thing. But that's essentially what I had. I had the yellow jacket, the football, the lacrosse, lacrosse sticks as well. And then I think you all still have it. We had the little stripes on our arms for the different accolades you get for off-day armor mentions or any other sort of above and beyond recognition that you got. So I had that going on as well. I don't have that anymore, which I miss. But the jacket I'm keeping.
That's okay. Yeah, for sure. So before we move on, what would you say was your most memorable role in the Detroit Country Day musicals? What was your favorite show to be part of?
Oh, gee.
Hi,
Henry. Easily and far and away would have to be The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
It was my senior year show.
Yep.
It was an absolute, utter joy to be a part of. I mean, just start to finish. I can't think of a bad day I had when we were doing that play. I mean, there were tough days. We were working hard. We were always, in rehearsal for hours.
Sure.
But it was an unbelievable experience. It's probably the reason why I even tried to go into acting when I first got out of college in the first place.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. Okay. So you are a junior at Country Day. You've been on the football team. You've played lacrosse.
Yep.
What made you decide that you wanted to play a college sport, specifically football? And then what was that junior year, senior year process like for you in terms of working with colleges for recruiting and stuff like that? Give us a little bit of insight into how that made you feel and kind of just what the general process is for anybody who's curious about college sports recruiting.
Absolutely. So the reason why I play football, I love the game of football. And I say love, I still love it. I have my qualms with it now, both in a good way and a bad way. I think it's still one of the best sports that you'll ever be able to play. It teaches you the team camaraderie lessons. You can't get that really in any other setting. My teammates both were the reason why I played, and I love the game. I also played because without football, both in high school and college, I wouldn't have gotten access to the education that I had. Not that I wouldn't have gotten one, not that I wouldn't have figured something else out, or my parents and I were resourceful, but I wouldn't have been able to have a country day, and I wouldn't have been able to have a Lehigh if I didn't play football.
Okay.
Recruiting, that was an eye-opening process, and it looks really cool at times, and it was really cool at times. I had a football coach from Lehigh who actually did the best job of recruiting me. He came to my house, called me, he took the effort, made the time. But I realized that when you go to a school like Lehigh, it's a mid-major school, what you might call. It's not a U of M. It's not a Alabama where you have career coaches. You have a lot of coaches that come and go in those types of settings. Okay. And that's a good thing. It's a normal maturation of the coaches that are coming in to learn and grow and going on to the next level. But what I realized is that the recruiting process can be skewed by that very heavily, because when I got to Lehigh the first day, the guy that recruited me was not there anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
The other interesting thing about recruiting was that, and that goes into Lehigh, was that one of the guys who recruited me from Cornell, Coach Wilcher, who's still a friend of mine today, he actually recruited me at Country Day for Cornell.
Okay.
I didn't go to Cornell. Ended up 3 years later, I'm a junior, and he shows up in our locker room as our new defensive back coach. So
interesting. Okay.
We ended up working together anyway. So recruiting it's a very difficult and interesting process. Have your eyes open. It is not, honestly, as glamorous as it might look in a field. It's very challenging. So yeah, that's what I would say about that process.
So for any student who's going through this process, or went through this process in the fall, or is going to go through it soon,
sure.
What advice would you have for kind of managing the pressures of that situation? Because I would imagine that, like, you're pulled in this direction, but you feel a certain way about this coach, or how would you suggest that a student manage that?
It's a great question. My advice is go where you can get two things: the best possible education and the absolute most playing time. Period. I went to Lehigh because I could do basically what I was doing at Country Day. I could get the most playing time and get the best education possible. We are all, I don't care if you're Mo Ways and you play at U of M and you have a chance to even go to the next level. Mo is a genius. He's a really smart kid, and he knows, like a lot of us do, that you have to make sure that you're providing yourself an insurance policy of your education, but you also want to get the most playing time you can, because you're not going to play this forever. Whether you go to the next level or not, you're going to want to play as much as you can in college. So that's where I would say that's where your decision should really lie.
I love that.
The other piece of it is make sure that you lean on the advisors that you have, both in your home and outside of your home, but still make your decision. The best kings or the best leaders or the best queens were always great about, I don't want to get too far off, but they're always great about having people that they can go to, get advice. They get one perspective, another perspective, but then they're able to make their own decision at the end of the day. That's difficult for a 17, 18-year-old person to do. Get that. But prepare yourself for it to be difficult, and keep in mind the two things I just said: most playing time, best education. There are D1 athletes that could have played anywhere they wanted to that went to Yale for a reason.
Right. Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. And I think that's awesome advice and a really good way to think about it. So you graduate from Country Day, you step on campus at Lehigh, and you're on the football team. So talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be a student athlete who has an incredibly demanding athletic schedule, but also an incredibly demanding academic schedule. How did you balance that? I would imagine that going to Country Day prepared you for kind of managing that, but I'm just curious, like, what it's like when you're actually in that setting.
That's a good point. And Country Day does a phenomenal job. The reason why I still even have a connection with Country Day as deeply as I do is because I felt so prepared walking into the first day of camp at Lehigh. That said, there's still really nothing you can do except experience it, because It is like having a full-time job. Playing football, playing any sport, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's soccer, whether it's softball, it is a full-time job. It just is. And now we watch a lot of film in football, but a lot of sports do that now too, where they're looking at every little thing. So be prepared for it to be a full-time job. The way that I navigated through, and I wish I would have done more of this, I did three things. And just to kind of balance everything out, I got tutors when I needed to. I wish I would have gotten more of them, honestly. They were readily available.
Yeah.
I just didn't go after them as much as I needed to or should have.
Actually, something we talked about with Dr. Grover on Tuesday is just the importance of learning when to ask for help. And I think that's key.
It's so important. It's so important. You feel like you come out of school, and Miss Hannah Price and I talked about this when I was back in town months ago. She said, "We educate you and the world is yours." And that quote is going to stick with me for the rest of my life because it was fantastic. That said, you still have to ask for the things you need. And if you don't ask, you don't get anything. So I wish, tutors were key. Summer classes, huge. Yeah. Two things that happen in summer classes. You can stay ahead, you can catch up, and you'll find that you can actually get deeper into the work that you're doing in the class with your professors. I wish I would have taken summer classes sooner because I have a less demanding school schedule, less demanding football schedule, and I can actually either catch up or stay ahead or get ahead. And then the last thing was I joined a fraternity. I joined a fraternity with 10 guys that I played football with who were all in the same class. We are to this day still friends. I'm going to be with them this weekend, hopefully. But I did that because I needed to make sure that I had my social muscle exercise as well. So those are the three things that I did to kind of balance it out. I wish I would have done more of those things. But I think that's a great way to be able to approach it.
And for anybody who's watching, I would imagine that there are resources on college campuses that kind of help you to understand that doing things like taking summer classes is a good idea, right? Like there are people to guide you that will help you that you can seek out. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And that's another thing too. As much as I had an advisor, I didn't lean on him as much as I could have or should have. And that's 20/20 vision. But there are a lot of resources. But don't feel like you're taking your it's remedial. It's far from remedial. You're actually just keeping your brain working all year, and you're catching. You did Teach for America, so it's smart to stay ahead when you have the time.
Exactly. Yes, I love that advice. I think that's really important. So, what would you say were some of what was like the best part to you about playing college sports? Like when you look back at that time, what like gets you? Like what's the nostalgia that you feel about that?
The tunnel. Walking out of the tunnel. Yeah. I mean, we didn't really have a formalized tunnel, but it's, you walk out of the locker room and everybody's in the front of the doors and the band's lined up. I mean, you're never going to get another experience like that. It's just not going to happen. And so I miss that a lot. I miss I still have it, but it's different. But the sort of fighting for your brother mentality that you always had to have, it was just inherent. You just did it. You just, the guy next to you. There's one of my, and I'll admit this now because we were rivals in college, but there's a guy I know named Jason Russell. He's one of my friends on this. That kid used to push me and drive me nuts every practice, every single day. And we played opposite of each other. Him and another guy named Landon Maggs is one of my frat brothers, and they played on the opposite side of me. So I was a defensive lineman, they were tight ends and linemen. Okay. And I remember in games when I would go to the actual game setting after practicing with them all week, and we're talking mess back to each other, and it's what we do. We're competing. Going on the field, I was now competing to make sure that I lived up to the work that we had just done together. And that's something that you really don't get outside of the sport. You can take it into that. You can take that thought process into the life you live. But I miss that the most, probably that, and walking around the sun.
Yeah, of course. So now you're doing BD for business development for a biotech firm. But I think something that I thought when I was a senior or when I went to Country Day, and I know a lot of students feel this way, is okay, wow, I see this person in their career and it seems as if they just knew exactly what to do and they graduated from college and now they have this career and they're making money and they're happy and they're successful and they just kind of like catapulted to this job. But as you realize, like
I
that's
thought the
actually
same
not
thing.
the case.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your pathway, your journey to the job that you're doing now, and kind of how you decided you wanted to do that job.
So I'll start this answer with a piece of advice because to this day I have to remind myself of this. It is. I came out of college and I came out of high school and I was kind of angry. I was like, I got one of the best educations that I could ever ask for. I busted my tail. Well, I could have probably worked a little harder, but I busted my tail as much as I could. What am I doing here? Why am I serving tables? Why am I DJing karaoke? And now I graduated in 2008, but I don't really like to make the excuse. We all have a difficult time when we come out of our college years. And the advice I'll give is don't panic because life is not linear. If I would have known that, and this is a question I think you may ask later, but if I would have known that younger, that this is not a linear path, I would have been a lot more comfortable because you're exactly right. You think you come out and boom, Paul knew he was going to be in sales the whole time, right? Not even close. If you would have told me I was in business development 10 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. And so my journey was college, serving tables, which honestly I would recommend to anybody. If you have to and can do it, want to make money, want to learn how to operate in a high value, highly pressurized environment, serve tables for a few years.
Hi, Richard.
And then I went to from there, my path was kind of interesting. Is I went into like hosting and DJing karaoke and then DJing weddings. And I did that while I worked along with, as a server. And then my wife, or at the time my girlfriend, told me something. She said, you should really go into sales. You like talking to people. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a car salesman thing, or like like what people do when they sell vacuums at your house. I'm not doing that. And little did I know that the word sales is a part of everybody's job. And business development, which is what I've been into now, is something that is based upon relationships. So I got a job at ADP. I worked in the business insurances. And all of a sudden, I started to get a knack for the conversations that I'd have with people and the relationships I built with people through this business conversation, which I always enjoyed, but I was serving tables. So talking about steak versus talking about workers' compensation insurance is a different conversation, obviously. So it was from there that I got into business, and then I got a couple of bonuses and was able to propose to my now wife, and I was like, okay, maybe I should stick with this. As much as I wanted to be an actor, and I actually was trying to do that while I was DJing.
Okay.
I just didn't have or didn't want to take the further path that you needed to drive in order, and both financially and mentally, to continue on down that road.
Right.
And I don't regret it, but it's one thing that, like, at the time, it didn't seem like the right choice.
But actually, Paul, I want to pause here because I think what you're getting at is actually really important, and it's another way to think about your career thought process, which is that you are actually, like, when you decided what you wanted to do, you are calling on a specific skill set that you really excel in, which is like being personable with people, having conversations. So that's another way to think about a job that you want to do, which is like, what are inherent skills that I have that I can then translate into something like working in insurance? It's not necessarily an interest in insurance that got you to insurance. It's the skill set that you had where you could be successful. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think what you're saying is a huge value and another way to think about
that's exactly right.
For a job.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you basically just segued me to what I was going to say next. I realized through this relationship, through this socialization that I had, this ability to socialize, that I was able to build relationships that could be professionally lucrative for me. And so I actually wanted to get into recruiting, and this is the interesting story. I won't go into too much detail, but there is a very famous couple that are friends of mine on Instagram called the Cruise Couple. And we met them on a cruise, and this guy essentially said, you would be really good at the relationships building and the business development for this biotech consulting firm that I would. It took him 4 years to convince me to move from Pennsylvania to Boston and take on an industry that I knew something about, but never really understood until I got into it. But once I knew about it, I was like, why did I not do this sooner? And now I'm working in biotech, and it's surreal some days, the thing that I'm able to do. But it all stemmed from, you're right, the marketable skills that I was able to uncover of building relationships, being social, interacting with people. And my job blends both technical work and social challenges of work, which we'll get to later. But that was my path. And again, not linear at all. It took some discovery, it took some trial and error. But now I'm here.
Right. And I love it. So unfortunately, we can't all be sitting in your kitchen with you every day while you do your job. But tell us a little bit about like the day in the life of what you do at your firm and kind of what that looks like.
Yep, that's easy. It's falls into three buckets. My job essentially is business development, making connections, making client outreach. I got on a call today with a woman that just joined a company that I was looking to talk to for a while now. I've been researching their pipeline. It said on her LinkedIn that she joined in April. So that's 2 weeks. She started yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So I said, I'll call you back in a few months, but I really love to talk to you. She's like, oh, that's great. Let's talk later. And that's something that I have to do in 6 months is reach out to her again and build a relationship, talk to her. And hopefully by that point, we'll be able to see people. So I'll be going out to her office and building that relationship. That's the business development piece, making connections. The second bucket is account management. Like when I get off this call, I'm going to have to go plan some interviews, attend kickoff meetings with clients that are doing new work, set up newly onboarded consultants, work on contracts and logistics for the programs that are being engaged on. Because what we do is provide consultants. So every consultant has a contract that goes with it for the work that they're doing. So I work on that as well. And the last piece is training. I train both personally to work on different things that I need to do for building my capabilities in the job, and also training some new employees as well, which I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do in the last couple of years.
That's really cool. So you work at a biotech firm, so I would imagine that they're probably playing a role in some way in coronavirus. Like how has coronavirus impacted your job and the work of your organization?
Yeah, that's so where everybody's working remotely, as you can tell. We're that kitchen's behind me.
We're in Paul's kitchen.
Which I have to thank goodness. It's one other piece of advice: be grateful, because a year ago my kitchen was under construction, and I don't know what my wife and I would have done. So if I can give another piece of advice, be grateful. Just be happy that you have the things that you do, because sometimes you can be so much worse.
Yeah, but, that's another thing Dr. Grover talked to us about was a list of gratitude every day.
I did see that. I have one every day that I put down. So we're all working remotely. I've changed my messaging to my clients. I've always been a nice person and trying to be sensitive. I can be direct when I need to, but I've always tried to approach things in a very diplomatic way. I'm being even more diplomatic. I'm coming in really sort of, hey, I just want to make sure you know we're here to help. Because right now is a time where a lot of my clients who are very health conscious are nervous about what's going on. So I'm changing that approach a little bit. We're avoiding face-to-face meetings. The other thing that I've seen is now a biotech has to step up. And I'm in a consulting firm, so I provide the people that do the work. And what I've noticed is that we have to step up our ability to work as collaboratively as possible, because everybody's watching us. I'm working with a company that was working on an anti-inflammatory program that turns out that you can treat pneumonia and inflammation with, and they're using it to try and target COVID patients. And I spent a Saturday night, a Friday morning, about 2 weeks, putting together a team of people that could help them to write the medical documents to go along with it.
Very cool.
And it's amazing.
That's really important work. Yeah.
Pinching myself thinking about it, but it's something you have to. We're in a position now where, as an industry, we have to kind of step up and really be. We're luckily built to be able to work remotely, but that's even more reason why. To whom much is given, so to speak, much is expected, and that's the mantra I'm dealing with biotech right now and within our company.
Very cool. So, okay, we have time, I think, for one more question. And I love this question. We've been asking everyone this question. So, sitting from where you are now, like looking back at 12th grade Country Day, Paul, what advice would you give to your high school senior self? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but just asking again, like, what do you think you would say to you in 12th grade?
Stay disciplined and regimented whenever you can. Not all the time. It's not possible. Stay disciplined as much as needed. But when you're in the moment, especially when you're celebrating or having a good time, be in the moment. Relax. Just be right there. I spend a lot of time, and I still do, and I have to remind myself, with my head on the swivel. I'm the kind of guy, Coach Mack may not agree with this, but when we play the zone, they tell you to look for work, find something to do, find somebody to. I'm good at that when it comes to work. It's not always good to be like that. You have to sometimes slow down and just be in the moment. So that's what I would tell myself in 12th grade.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Paul. You're the best.
Oh, my God.
Thanks to everyone for joining.
Thank you all for coming.
Paul, when you end this live, please don't forget to save it. And then also, if you could post it to your story, I think that will also post to our Country Day story.
Okay.
So we can keep it up there. But we really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
It's
been so fun.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, and we'll see you soon. Thank you again.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate